Hello caffeine fiends and welcome to another coffee bean review video for www.getbeaned.com. I'm Vince, the Mean Bean Machine, and today we're looking at Easy Jose's Mayni coffee. Before I go any further, do hit those like and subscribe buttons and check us out on your socials. Now, Easy Jose are a company working in the Peruvian part of the Amazon rainforest. And they're working with the indigenous community out there to grow coffee. So I was really intrigued when I heard about this because I've actually been to the Peruvian rainforest as part of a reforestation project. There's parts of it that have been logged and cut down for logging, or where there has been an introduction of kind of foreign plants that are destroying the rainforest. So there's now a lot of projects going on to help reforest and protect parts, certainly of the Peruvian rainforest. I mean, there's areas of Brazil where they're having trouble still. But now this particular coffee, the Mayni coffee, refers to the indigenous community that are actually growing the coffee. So Easy Jose have actually contacted indigenous tribes living within the rainforest to see if they'd be interested in growing coffee. That way they kind of generate a profit for themselves while still protecting the rainforest. It doesn't have to be cut down by other kind of coffee farmers coming in. It's the communities that live there and know good areas to grow coffee, and they can grow it on a much smaller scale. So, I mean, this is one of those coffees. So I'm really intrigued because I've, been there and I've been part of projects for that. So it's something that really appealed to me. Also, I've seen this before mentioned on The Independent. The Independent had a top 10 list of kind of best coffees to buy online. And they're really big fans of this. It's got the little indie best of 2020 label. So I've gone online and I finally got round to buying one of Easy Jose's coffees. So this cost me £9.50 from the Easy Jose website. And like I say, shipped in from Peru. So £9.50 is not bad for a bag of 250 grams. And the tasting notes were what particularly kind of drew me to this one rather than some of the others. So the tasting notes are honey, orange, chocolate, almond. So honey suggests a kind of quite a rich sugary sweetness. The orange, bit of kind of citric, acidity, light acidity. Chocolate, there's some dark notes underneath maybe. And then almond suggests kind of that slightly nutty, probably quite a smooth finish with the honey taste. Now, ideally, in an ideal world, those are the notes that I love. They're all hitting kind of the right kind of notes for me personally. So we'll do our standard, give it a go as an espresso shot, then as note latte, see what we feel. But that's my initial thoughts to how I think it will turn out, and we'll give it a go. So there's our espresso shot, and I must say there's a fantastically rich smell that comes off it once it's been pulled. You give it a sniff and there's this really lovely kind of rich chocolatey note that kind of hits you. It's not too acidic, there's not that kind of cloying, grabby kind of almost disinfectant smell that you get with kind of really acidic coffees. So that's kind of nice. The smell is rich and pleasant, so I'm hoping the taste kind of comes through with that, because taste and smell are very closely linked. So we'll give it a sip, see what we think. Honestly, not what I was expecting. That honey note comes through, and there is a lot of that citrus kind of acidity there. And then the darker notes are very, very kind of mild, comparatively speaking. So I'm getting that kind of sugary honey and then that kind of tingling sensation from the acidity. So the dark kind of sweet notes of chocolate, almonds, not particularly coming through too much. Almond maybe on the finish is quite a smooth kind of finish, almost a bit of a nutty texture, yeah? but I was expecting something a lot sweeter than that. It's not to say that it's not unsweet, but I was expecting a lot more sweetness, whereas the acidity and that kind of honey, smooth, syrupy kind of mouthfeel comes through a bit more. So, I mean, there is a sweet darkness. There's a darkness that kind of sits at the back of your throat, and that's the chocolate note. There's definitely a sweet darkness to it. It's a really kind of smooth finish, despite that kind of acidity being the first thing that hits you. It's a smooth finish. It doesn't kind of, catch the throat. So that's surprising in how strong that kind of acidic, it's almost an acidic taste, but no acidity to it, if you see what I mean. That's a bit kind of counterintuitive. But the acidity, hits the tip of the tongue and then disappears by the time you swallow. And then those kind of richer, darker notes are coming through as an aftertaste, which is really quite pleasant, but it's just not what I expected. So I'm interested to see if we give it a go as a latte, bit of oat milk, see if that comes through, the sweeter notes come through, and that kind of acidity and darkness is kind of dulled down, and the sweet honey notes and maybe almond come through a bit more. So we'll foam something up and see how it goes. So there it is as our oat latte. Not a bad pour, probably not my best, but we'll give it a go, see what textures and flavours come out from that with oat milk. Oh wow, so it's kind of dramatically dampened, and that honey and nuttiness comes through a lot more. The acidity's now kind of disappeared into the ether, and then you slightly get this slight kind of orangey, like, oh yeah, that's still there. So you take a kind of glug and you go, well, that's almost completely gone, that tip of the tongue sensation gone. And then you kind of go, oh no, there's a bit of orangeness coming through. But really the honey and the nuttiness comes through, and this kind of really nice smooth finish, and you kind of go, oh, that's changed the coffee quite dramatically. And it's become quite mild from what you got in the espresso shot. And that, my natural inclination by tasting the espresso was kind of going, well, that certain things would come through a bit more, and they've not. But it's not in a bad way. It's not diluted it. It's a really lovely coffee, actually. But the flavour palette has just almost kind of completely shifted from one end to the other of the tasting notes it said. So kind of that acidity goes, and the honey comes forth a bit more, as does that kind of nutty almond finish. So it's not as sweet as the espresso shot, which is really bizarre in terms of, sweetness should rise through. But it's really pleasant in terms of a kind of nice, mild, mid-morning coffee. I'd be, slamming that all day. I wouldn't because of the caffeine, but you get the gist. There's no kind of like, really challenging flavours that you're going, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. That's this really kind of honey nutty kind of, yeah, lovely. And I'm really kind of pleased with how that's kind of turned out, solely because of the kind of the shift. There's a real difference, and you don't get that a lot. I mean, there is a dramatic difference when you from an espresso to a milkier drink. But to have it so dramatic in the same kind of coffee is something I'm not too used to. They dramatically change, but you can still kind of pick out where you were starting off from. And this is sort of kind of going, if I hadn't had poured it myself, I'd be going, no, you've switched the coffee somewhere. And it's only with that kind of prior knowledge of, oh yeah, I guess that orange is still there, you know, and the chocolate is still there, but really kind of deep down. So yeah, it's shifted from kind of a acidic kind of yet smooth espresso to a very smooth, very nutty oat drink, effectively. And I wonder, I mean, I don't drink dairy, but I wonder if that's more to do with the oat milk than any other milks. So it'd be interesting if other people do try this. Do let me know if other milks kind of give it something different. But in terms of that, yeah, that's a shift I wasn't expecting, but it's a very pleasant one. So I'm going to go away, finish my coffee, have some final thoughts on it, and I'll let you know. My final thoughts on that coffee are kind of really positive. I've gone for a 4-star rating, which is not, you know, it's another high scorer from me. And, you know, I must admit, when I initially tasted it, I thought, oh, this is probably going to be a 3. But actually, it really grows on you, especially the way it kind of shifts in tone and palate from milk to, you know, from espresso to a milky drink. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that there's more to it than kind of meets the eye. And as a milky drink, I could drink that all day. That was lovely. Very kind of mild and pleasant, but definitely lovely. And for $9.50, and the fact it's doing good things as well, you know, I think I had to give it the 4 stars at the end of the day. So just in terms of my final notes, acidic notes with kind of no cloying aftertaste. That's in terms of the espresso. You know, you get this acidic tingle on the tip of your tongue, but it doesn't catch the back of your throat. Gives way to a smooth and nutty finish, which is, you know, when you add the milk. So not as sweet as expected, which is true with kind of the chocolate and the honey and the orange notes that it said it had. I expected something a lot sweeter, a lot more kind of catching and a bit more bright. But it dramatically changes when the milk is added. So yeah, not as kind of sweet and as bright as I expected, but definitely a lovely kind of medium, kind of mild coffee that you then kind of go, oh, actually there's a bit more to that than meets the eye. So yeah, very pleasant indeed. 4 stars from me. Thank you very much for watching. Do like and subscribe and check out more of our videos at www.getbean.com. Bye bye.